Hey guys, continuing Iamblichus' exhortation to philosophy text, chapter 9. Okay, so here Iamblichus says that we should seek wisdom for its own sake. Then it's a proper way to aspire towards wisdom and to desire it. So we seek it for its own sake and not for the sake of something else. Then we enter, as I understand it, we create like the perfect cycle again, like an energy loop, the infinite loop, so to say. Because if we seek it for something else, then we're not finding our end in wisdom. We're kind of like dropping down. For example, if we want to become wise so we can make more money, for example, then our end is not wisdom. Wisdom is just our proxy, our tool to make more money. But to make more money, in terms of how nature is designed, is not our end in terms of the structure of nature, of how we're created. Our end is wisdom. It should be wisdom. There we will find our purpose being fulfilled. So, when he says this is how I understand it. And we see this from the previous illustrations I've made in terms of how energy is running in a cycle and returning to itself. If we seek wisdom for something else, then this is the loop that we're creating. We're falling down, and then an infinite number of desires start to emerge. If we use wisdom for money, then we need money for something else, to buy a better car, to buy a bigger house, and so forth. And if you want to buy a bigger house, we want to have this in it, and that in it, and this, and so forth. And this never ends. We never find peace this way. If we seek wisdom for itself, then as we're becoming more wise, we're getting higher and higher, more enjoyment from that. And that's it. And so Iamblichus mentions this idea of the island of the blessed. And he says, if we seek wisdom for itself, then if I understood him right, then we start to enter the island of the blessed. And when we die, this is kind of like the island where we go, so to say. As I understand it, it's a state of being after death. And he said, in this island of the blessed, there is no use for anything. This island of the blessed is filled with wisdom, but there is no use. And at first I didn't understand it. I thought, what does he mean? There's no usefulness, there's no nothing to use this wisdom for. There's just wisdom. And I couldn't understand it at first, but then it made sense. Because if there was any use for anything, then there would never be an end to this. And it would not be an island of the blessed. It would not be a peaceful, perfect, so to say, state. It would be a never-ending state of desire and constantly using and changing things, as we see in the physical reality. So as Iamblichus explains it, he says there is this island of the blessed, and in it there is just wisdom. And if we are seeking wisdom for itself and not for something else, then we will enjoy this island of the blessed, and we will fully sort of engage in it and reap its benefits. But if we seek wisdom for other things, then we're ruining it, what this island of the blessed has to give us. And as I understand it, we will not enter this state. So here's a very interesting thing that he says. He says wisdom itself is not useful for anything. But remember, and I think it was in the previous chapter or in the following chapters, I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it will be in my videos if it wasn't yet. He says, even though wisdom is not useful for any specific thing, because it's a good, it's good. It overflows into everything that we do, and thus it becomes useful for everything. The same thing when we talk about virtue, the same thing. We're not talking about a virtue, we're talking about virtue. And thus virtue, developing virtue in ourselves, it overflows into all other areas of life and actions. So this is a very interesting part. Now, in terms of contemplation, how do we understand it? If you have any other insights and contemplations about this part, please write in the commentaries. And I'll think about it now and say what I understand also from it. I think on this physical, in this physical reality, we can enter a kind of the island of the blessed by creating this energy loop and aligning everything towards wisdom by the study of philosophy. And the more we do that, the more we're fulfilling our purpose and finding our end. The more peace we will experience and the more meaning we will experience, because we're doing what we're designed to do and what we're supposed to do here. Ultimately, life will start to gain maximum meaning and feeling of purpose. If we're not doing that, if we're doing this, whether it's through wisdom we seek other things or we just seek other things directly without even developing wisdom, then we're not really fulfilling the purpose. So majority of people, as I see it, they just seek other things and they see them for something else, and then they seek that something else for something else. Like I said, people want money to look cool in front of others so that they have less feeling of insecurity, for example. They want to buy a house for a million of different reasons. They want to have a family again for a million of other reasons. And each of those reasons creates more and more reasons. And so people never quite seem to find any peace. They're constantly running because of how they're sending their energy. Because energy, as I understand it, is supposed to go in a cycle. It's supposed to return to you. But with desires, it just goes further and further and further into matter, into physical matter and division. So that's it in this chapter. Thank you for your time. I'll meditate now for 15 seconds and YouTube will show a video on the screen, hopefully.